You have to implement this shot in your next video. Hello everybody, my name is Mark Bagnoli. Today we talk about a different kind of slider shots and also how you can light easily one scene with one lighting setup and just have to do a little bit of adjustment. This is the first shot we're looking at, and as you can see we have this nice slider type shot on the table ending with a little tilt up to the grandmother. And how do you pull off a shot like this? You probably see a lot of these long Loava lenses that have this macro ability that are 24mm, very long, and you can slide it through tight spaces. This is what you probably think this lens is, but it doesn't have to be, because there are different ways how you can do a shot like this. Because the most dramatic thing is the tilt at the end. I now give you the camera POV. This is the table, and when your camera looks like this and you have this really long lens, when you want to tilt it upwards, these are long, big cameras most of the time, you will hit the table. You cannot get this nice movement. So what you probably would do, you would build a rig above the table. So you have something like this, where the camera hangs upside down of the table and the other side is on rails. So I'll give you the side view. This is the dolly. Then you have this L-type shape of metal where you can mount your camera. Here's your camera. And then you slide across the table from the side. So now you have the ability to use a bigger, better lens. But then the next problem you have still is you want depth, you want some parallax. And to get parallax, you need objects on the table. When you look at the footage, you can see they moved everything away so the camera can move easily through it. But I think when they didn't use a lower lens, which is possible, and use the bigger lens, there wouldn't be enough space. Even if you put everything away, it would look weird. What you can do is put CGI objects. So not all of this has to be real, so that you can use a nicer lens for these kinds of shots and get this nice tilt up at the end. But in the end of the day, it just could be a lower lens. Also at the end, you have to always look for reflections. They blurred the hell out of this thing so that you don't see the camera and the movement of it. So this is the wide shot of the scenery, and as you can see, we have a lot of details. This is a typical grandpa like house, and I will tell everybody more is better in set design. You see, no single wall is empty. You always have something on the wall. The wall have different colors, different textures. Always a white wall with nothing is your enemy. Make everything interesting, because when every corner is interesting, you can put your camera here, you can put your camera here, you can put your camera here. Every angle is possible at the end of the day. So if you concentrate more on set design, on these kinds of sets, where you're just on one location, you have to put everything in there, then the shot becomes more and more easy, because every corner, every angle with your camera looks good. Also in that case, not that much, but if you have different kind of skin colors, so darker, brighter, tend to put the darker people near the light source, because the roll off would be much better to everyone, because if you put the brighter people first, they would be very hot, and then the next people will come will be pretty dark. So if you place them correctly at the beginning, you will have a nicer roll off without you have to balance every single exposure. This is also a typical example of lighting for realism, which makes everything more easy for you, because you always work around your light sources. The big light source in this shot is this window, this grandma type curtain. Every one of you would probably put a light inside the room and key the kid from the side, but that's not just the case. Why don't we do it like this? Because it wouldn't look realistic. We had an establishing shot where you can see where the light source is coming from. The kid is here and the windows are here, so there's no way a light is coming from the side. The whole scene is set to this direction. This is just how you do it most of the time. There are many examples in big Hollywood movies where they throw away the lighting continuity on even a dialogue scene because it looks better or some other reason. So don't take this example as an, oh, we have to do it this way. No, it's just the most common way you see in commercials, because it's much easier to work this way and your footage will look less lit. And that's most of the time our goal. So what they've done here is there is another window in this corner and they just backlit him a little bit. and add a little bit of fill on the other side to get him a little bit better exposure. And also we have this really wide angle lens, which is really now common in commercials. You go 90% of commercials will have some kind of movement or people involved have a 40mm look on a full frame sensor, because it just feels more immersed into the scenery and it's a more unique look, because it always has to remember you have to catch the eye of the audience in a commercial, so you try different and more extreme looks. So this is the shot of the grandma, and now you can see this is the most perfect lighting get we here. Pretty lit from the side, you have great exposure coming through the room. The only thing how to light a scene like this is you would put a light source outside the window. When your light source is outside, it's always better, because from the feeling you will get, the light shouldn't be in the room. It's not realistic that you have a big light source in your room. So as you pull it more away, it becomes more realistic, but not every time. We're just talking about these kinds of shoots. So your typical setup is big light source. You have to check, is this a studio? Is this a real room? So we have real light coming in with changing light levels. So when it's a real location, we would black out the scenery. So we put over each window a black box where you put your lights in, so your light is not shifting darker or brighter because of clouds. And then you have most of the time two lights. One, then it's blasting into the background, giving us a little bit of texture. Here it's not that present, that's an overall, it's just soft exposure from the window. And the other light would be diffused with a quarter diffusion, or you bounce it into a butterfly and going straight onto our actor. Then when we go for the close-up, you can see our lighting become much cleaner, much more present, because now we have more space. We can put a bigger diffusion near the edge of the frame to get this nicer roll-off. Also, we can put a bigger negative fill on the other side so that we get a bit more contrast on the side. It's always this adding light on one side, moving light on the other side. This is the technique you have to use all the time and thinking all the time about it. You also tend always to light your wider shots harder. So if you have a big space, want to show a lot of things, throw your diffusion away. You have to use harder lights, and then when you go in for the close-up, then you diffuse it. Because on a wider spectrum, it's much more difficult to create contrast. That's the reason you use less diffuse lights. So if you enjoyed this video, I really would appreciate a subscription from you. My name is Marco Bagnoli, and I'll see you next time.